Welcome back to another episode of Dynasty Theory. I'm John Bauer. Find me on X at the Bauer Club. We got Dan Lamagna at Coach Dan Dynasty and Mitch Sorensen at Dino MC. Of course, we got to lead off tonight's show talking about the firing of Brian Callahan. Is there going to be any impact on Cam Ward and the lowly value Dynasty assets around him? We don't want to spend too much time on this because, Dan, you and I touched on this a little bit with the teams that were kind of towards the bottom of your dysfunction rankings. And, obviously Tennessee still there, churning and burning at the head coach position. So, Dan, let me ask you, let me get right to it. Can Tennessee, can they get things on track here as a franchise?
Before I answer that, I want to say those 10 bad teams that we talked about last week for our listeners, and you'll have to go back and listen if you want to know exactly who they are, but 7 losses out of 10 teams, 2 played each other, the Titans and the Raiders, who we're about to talk about. Of course, my dysfunctional Cowboys were upset by Carolina, and the Giants upset Philly. But I think we were onto something there last week, JB, is 7 of those bad teams remain bad, and one of them just fired their head coach. To answer your question, this has been bad since ownership replaced Mike Vrabel and their previous GM. And we're like, hey, how do you let go of a head coach that good? And look what he's doing in New England now, right? Mm-hmm. So we weren't wrong there. If there is a silver lining, there's some owners out there with Cam Ward shares, maybe this new GM, Mike Borgzoni, who was just hired this year, is reestablishing a healthy culture. We could hope, right? Because ownership kind of just tampered with everything. Said Vrabel's going, the GM's going. They replaced the GM already this year. Now they're replacing the head coach. There's a lot of turnover, but maybe this new GM is getting rid of the dysfunction now because Coach Callahan didn't help his cause after that game, throwing Cam Ward and the entire team under the bus. So they said, hey, enough's enough. We've lost the locker room. Maybe at a minimum for the rest of this year, that team plays a little bit more motivated, has a healthy atmosphere, and we could squeeze a couple more points out of them, JB and Mitch. But I think it's going to be a while before this thing goes anywhere really good.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you kind of mentioned it, but whenever a team fires their head coach, sometimes it's like they'll rally around the interim coach, and that's going to be Mike McCoy here. But Mitch, from a dynasty perspective, Dan and I shared our opinions on the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward specifically last week. Is this not necessarily because of the Brian Callahan firing, but is there a buy low opportunity that you're looking to pursue when it comes to Cam Ward?
The problem for me is why buy into Cam Ward? I know he's young, but what is really his upside? Are you hoping he turns into Sam Darnold? I mean, John, you have Sam Darnold 1 tier above Cam Ward in your tiers, right? You can say, oh, Jared Goff, you have Jared Goff 3 tiers above Cam Ward, but that is like his ceiling play because he gives you nothing rushing. He averages 6 yards a game rushing, like 2 attempts per game. It's just that kind of archetype of quarterback. If they don't produce, and a lot of times they don't produce and you don't get anything out of them. And what's even their ceiling? Their ceiling isn't even that wanted unless somehow he turns into what Baker Mayfield is now when he's 30 years old. And it's just, but Baker Mayfield is like the one guy that's doing it that's by himself. He doesn't have, Jared Goff has a plethora of skill players, right? Sam Darnold has JSN. Baker's able to do it right now with like Sterling Shepard. I mean, that's
and Tez Johnson.
Exactly, right? And do I think Cam Ward has that in him as a rookie, as a third-year player? I don't. And so there are probably 20 quarterbacks in the NFL that I could go out and get today that I feel a lot more confident in. And I don't have to have the risk of, hey, this guy might not be a starter in 3 years. And so for me, I just see no reason to buy into Cam Ward because his upside isn't even enough to make you, hey, having Cam Ward on my team is making me a contender. I just don't think that's the case.
But before Dan throws the timeout, I do not necessarily challenge, but with Cam Ward, like we always we write off these players so quickly. And that is the dynasty game that we play, right? That's the way everybody looks at it. So, hey, don't write off a player so quickly. Let them develop. Well, there are ebbs and flows with these values. And you look at a player you mentioned already, but you look at a player like Sam Darnold, you look at a player like Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield. We've seen those peaks and valleys with their value, but how low did that get for all of them? And then you get a bounce back. And those three, they are more the exception rather than the rule. So I know you're going to get some people that say, give it time. But this is the assumption. This is the thought process behind it. For me, I think Cam Ward's value is going to decrease. And then maybe in 3 years, we get an opportunity where he is the next generation Sam Darnold type situation.
All good points by both of you. And I was coming in with a timeout, not a challenge, because I don't disagree with Mitch whatsoever there. I don't think it's the way either of the three of us are looking to build or adapt our dynasty rosters. He may be cheeks, but maybe is a better example of Michael Penix. Like, again, sometimes we just can't get what we want, right? At the quarterback position or somewhere. Tennessee's 1-5. What if they draft a stud offensive weapon? This, like we talked about, if there is a silver lining, this new GM gets this young quarterback some weapons. Could we have some Michael Penix type, games where there is some hope? I'm trying to give some hope to owners out there, because we know people have shares of Cam Ward.
Yeah, it's hard because, like you said, they can in the first round. They could go out and get that really good wide receiver. Maybe they go get that Drake London. There's no Bijan out there. You take Bijan off that Falcons team, I don't want to see what happens to Michael Penix, right? I mean, Michael Penix did not play well last night at all, but Bijan's awesome. So even Penix mistakes aren't that big of a deal because they have Bijan. So unless Bijan's walking in the door, I have no idea what button John just hit.
I'm playing around with this here.
I get it.
Bear with me.
He didn't like my Michael Penix analogy. He banished me there with that little
He was
experiment.
like, you're gone. I mean, can it
Off the
happen?
show.
Sure. But it just comes down to why? Why even buy into him? Like, comparing him to Jackson Dart. The reason to buy into Jackson Dart was, hey, no one valued him in the first place. And then he has huge rushing upside. That's what you want in a young quarterback. Cam Ward does not give you that.
There JB goes. That's where we got to be.
That's a little better.
But maybe there's a buy low for Cam Ward.
There is, but you can't start him. So, best case, yeah, if you can get him for like a mid-second round pick, sure, I guess.
Fair enough. Where are you taking us, JB? No, JB.
I'm just moving these things around.
You're making our listeners dizzy, is what you're doing right here.
I know.
You sent me to the abyss twice now. Yeah.
Here, let's do this.
Is that better?
But our names are still down there. I clearly didn't make the overlay I was hoping for here. We'll be more prepared next week. But let's run through some of these trades here, shall we? DJ Moore in a 26-second or Cam Ward, 12-team start 10, full PPR.
That's a good fair buy low, Mitch, isn't it? Like let's just say it's a mid-second like you were talking about. DJ Moore's a little bit on a down slope right now. You're getting a starting quarterback, super flex. I would take Cam Ward.
That's fine. I'll take Cam Ward. Next one, I'm taking Travis Etienne, though.
So Cam Ward or Travis Etienne in a 26-second.
Yeah, Etienne stocks up, so I'm on the Etienne side.
Yep.
Cam Ward or 26 first. Now, this is interesting because you're making the bet on Cam Ward against presumably the quarterback class of 2026, unless you have excess quarterbacks and you're just looking to move off of that value. Maybe the opportunity has finally presented itself. The quarterback market's a little slow in this league, but let's say mid to late 26 first, because I can't see that being an early.
I take the first, and if we're talking about betting on quarterback markets, I would bet on next year's. I also would just roll the dice and hope it's a better situation than Tennessee. So even if you're not really sold on the quarterbacks, there's nothing we like right now in Tennessee.
Yeah, you can do so much more with that first than you can with Cam Ward.
Yeah, so I think collectively we went with Cam Ward over DJ Moore in the second.
Mm-hmm.
Then Travis Etienne in the second over Cam Ward, the first over Cam Ward.
Yep.
What about this? There's no tight end premium in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Cam
Need a
Ward and
tight end
Brenton
premium.
Strange or Dalton Kincaid. I would go Cam.
I'm going.
Yeah,
Dalton
same
Kincaid.
here.
You would
I
go
love
Kincaid.
Kincaid.
I
with
love
no
Kincaid. I'm
Without the
going-
premium, though, Mitch.
Look, here's the thing. I can't start Cam Ward. Kincaid is almost, I would have to look up what the scoring settings are in that league. Kincaid is almost a better starter in a super flex spot than Cam Ward is today.
There's something to that. You're a 3-quarterback super flex guy, though, Mitch, when you can be.
I am. And
I mean, Cam
You
Ward's
can't
putting up like 9 points per game right now.
exactly.
It's got to get
aw-
better, right?
It's worse than Will Levis. His first, 5 or 6 games, everyone's seen the stat out there on X. Will Levis was a better starter than Cam Ward has been. And
That's because he ran, though, right?
And it sucks. Like, I was on the mailbag show that we have on DD Fantasy every other weekend. We did it every weekend throughout the summer. But the one thing Brandon asked me, he's like, what are you looking forward to in the season? I'm like, game 1, I want Cam Ward to go out there and just light it up. That's what I want. I think it'll be awesome if it happens, because I love how he talks to the media. I love how he presents himself. But what it comes down to is, like, it's just not there on the field. And like I say a million times, you don't have to roster every player. So I could just choose not to roster Cam Ward, and it's not going to hurt me at all.
Yeah, no issue with that. You know, he's not somebody that I'm actively looking to acquire. I am below market, but that's the thing. Like, if you look at the size of the bubbles on Dynasty Daddy and you look at the trade database, there aren't many quarterbacks at the top of the volume traders there, because people have the quarterbacks that they want. And if they lose one and don't have a quarterback lined up to put in, they tend to go with a positional player. And what reason is there to go out and acquire a Cam Ward? There just isn't much. I want to go through a few numbers that I pulled today. 11% sack rate, fourth highest, fourth worst. 5.45 yards per attempt. That's only better than Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, and Tyrod Taylor. 3.45 adjusted net yards per attempt. That takes into account interceptions and sacks. That's only better than Jake Browning. Only better than Jake Browning when looking at completion percentage over expected. So that's the company that we are keeping here. And sure, the system could be better. Like, the scheme could be better. The weapons could be better. But as much as people don't want to admit it, situation matters for these young quarterbacks. We just went through the list of Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, where they were in shit situations, and not saying they're, they have a huge sample size at this point of showing success, but they need opportunity and situations around them. And I just don't think Cam Ward is set up for success.
I don't know. Here's the thing. So
that offense is a disaster all around.
It is, but it's not. Are you saying that offense is literally worse than what Jackson Dart has with the Giants today?
No.
So, okay, here's some other stats.
But I'm not comparing Cam Ward to Jackson Dart. We know that you think Jackson Dart is a generational talent.
All I'm saying is look, time to throw, which we think is a pretty important stat, right? He's the 7th highest, 2.8. I mean, that's upwards with what Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Lamar. It's more than what Josh Allen gets. And then if you go to EPA per play, you throw it out. Someone has to throw a minimum 50 pass attempts, right?
He's only better than Flacco and Browning.
He's 37th. Like, it's not like he's just kind of bad. Dylan Gabriel is better.
He's been horrendous. I'm not defending him by any means, but we would have had very similar conversations about Sam Darnold. Jake the Snake, you are singing to Mitch right now. Situation doesn't seem to matter much for Drake May. Drake May has been absolutely incredible, but that wasn't the way he was viewed last year by a lot.
Sam Darnold's also played for 4 different teams at this point. If you want to buy into Cam Ward, go ahead. And if you want to wait for like that 3rd team that he's going to be on, that's great. But even still, you could win without Sam Darnold. And every year Sam Darnold's played, you could win without him. So it's why even buy into that archetype of player.
Dan, you've been quiet over there. I
agree with the point of not buying into it, but if you have him, I think you got to hold some hope that, again, the firing of the coach, maybe they could get this right.
Because there are a lot of people that believe in him. It's true. There's a lot of people that are like, hey, he was the best quarterback in the class. And so there probably is someone in your league who's willing to buy into it if they make a good head coaching hire. That's if you could trust the Titans to do that. Because, I mean, maybe they go Jay Gruden. They go Gruden, I'm all in.
I have 3 shares of Cam Ward for the record, and that I'm sharing that on the screen here. Ignore those 21 Riley Leonard shares. But I see Frank Incognito over there with this new username. I can't get used to it. But it says JB's going down like Enron with Ward. I have very little Cam Ward. I had to defend myself. I'm not advocating for saying invest in him now because so invest in him now because he'll be good in 5 years. And Dustin, and this ties in with what Mitch said. Throw that back up on the screen, please.
Oh, sorry.
You're jumping around. You're worse than whenever I was jumping around earlier.
No, I'm just saying anything that proves my point, I'm going to click on it. Anything else, I'll just ignore it. That's
no. So Dustin says Titans O-line ranks 6, by the way. That's way better than a lot of other quarterbacks. When I'm saying scheme and situation, I'm not necessarily saying the offensive line. All right. Because that has been the lone strength of this offense because nothing else is working. There was nothing else going on there.
And Callahan did the play calling. So now someone else is going to take over the play calling there in Tennessee. Again, if you have him on a roster, your hope is the play calling gets better. They use a very high pick on a weapon for him. They build him around the O-line. That's a strength. Because the one thing you do have is if it does get anything better, he should be their starter for 3, 4, 5 years, right? You would hope. Their first round pick could survive his first contract, and you at least get stability in a super flex league, even if he's your QB3. I've got 1 share of him, JB.
But
I've got 1 share. He's my QB3.
But how much are we willing to bet on, again, the Titans turning this around and making it right?
Oh, we're not. None of us are.
I think it's going to be a churn and burn situation, similar to what we're going to see with the New York Jets. I don't think Aaron Glenn is far behind, honestly.
So maybe Cam Ward will go somewhere else and be good.
We've seen
in 5 years, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say we've seen a lot of the best head coaching candidates turn down jobs over the years.
Yeah.
And so I don't see a lot of great head coaching candidates being like, hey, that Titans job is the one I want to walk into. So it makes you wonder if they're going to get the top of the top or if they're going to end up getting just someone else, another retread.
Good points. That's a lot of Tennessee talk. Boys.
Told you we wouldn't get to that one quick, John. I knew that wasn't going to happen.
No, and it's you can't even spend time talking about other assets, how it affects them from dynasty purposes, because there are no other dynasty assets to talk about.
No,
like I like Calvin Ridley. We can talk about Tony Pollard, but these are guys that are, going back to last week's show, they're not top 100 dynasty assets. So it's not like we have multiple high-end pieces. Whereas you look at those New York Giants, you have Cam Scatterbo, Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors. Yes, I randomly listed Malik Neighbors number 3 there. Had to start with Cam. Bad owners create bad teams. I 100% agree. And it's just going to continue. And that's why these teams have these stigmas in the dynasty community. It's like, don't scout the jersey, but sometimes that gives you enough of an edge.
And we gave 10 bad teams last week. That list is going to grow a little bit as the season progresses.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about something good here. And while you're here, hit the like button. I know you're subscribed to the channel, but just in case, double check. A lot of good content here at DD Fantasy Football. And then check out patreon.com/all gas. Get in the Discord community. Conversations going 24/7. Rico on the prowl. Chuba Hubbard. He needs to keep an eye out for that one. So, Mitch, Rico Dowdle, he has elevated himself to running back 30 on the Dynasty Daddy values. Looking at a few things, 389 yards over the last 2 weeks. And that was against the Cowboys and the Dolphins, but still remarkable nonetheless. 7 receptions, 66 PPR points. Because of those 2 games over the course of the season, he is now running back 16 on a per game basis.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at rush yards over expected per attempt, David Montgomery is at 2 rush yards over expected. That's actually the best in the NFL. Rico Dowdle was over 5 rush yards over expected per attempt in week 5, and he was at 1.2 in week 6. He's getting the yards after contact per attempt, 3.5. Does this continue? Chuba Hubbard is going to be coming back. How do you think this shakes out? Because I can't tell you how many offers I've gotten where somebody's trying to send me Rico Dowdle for a second.
I would accept that every single time. So here's my thing. Rico Dowdle, minimum 50 rush attempts so far. He's number 1 in EPA per rush. And it's not even like he hasn't had a lot. Quinshon Judkins has 84 rushes. Rico Dowdle has 81. So it's not like that, hey, this is just a low sample size thing. The dude's crushing it. He has like 1 less reception than what Chuba has. I think the Panthers have always looked for that 1A, 1B running back situation when they went out and got Jonathan Brooks. You know, they've always, every offseason, they're bringing these backs in to try to find a guy who's did it. And finally, Rico Dowdle did. And it's not, I don't think he's going to come in and completely take over for Chuba. But at the same time, coaching staffs are smart enough to know which one is going to produce and which one might not produce as much. And right now, if you give me 50-50 Rico Dowdle and Chuba, I kind of like it, to be honest, because the Panthers, Chuba, John, you know, going back to last year, we've been on that Chuba train for a long time because they're very, very good with their running backs. Mm-hmm. So you tell me maybe Rico gets, you know, a few less rushing attempts each game. I still really like it because that team is going to revolve around the run. And so Rico, for a second, I'm happy to buy in for that price.
Okay. Maybe I need to go back and look at that then. And also, like,
that's how I look at it, at least.
Like, I tried to move Rico. I just flashed on the screen. I don't know if anybody noticed. I don't know how it got up there, but I have 23 Rico Dowdle shares. I don't know how that got up there. But if I'm not contending, I've tried to get a second, not working. I tried to get a 2-3 swap, not working. Then I have people in the chat saying, hey, I'm looking for a running back. Well, Rico's been on the block. Let's do something here. But he's an interesting player because he has that standalone value, presumably, if they are looking for that 1-2 punch. I don't know how you can relegate him just to the bench or, 25-30% of the work. And like you said, I like Chuba Hubbard a lot, and he's averaging 14 points per game whenever he's been in. But you look at those rush yards over expected, Chuba Hubbard's actually negative. He's negative 0.3 rush yards over expected per attempt. Now he is adding more value in the receiving game from an EPA perspective. So I think we could get a nice 1-2 punch. Let's say they each get, is it crazy to think they could each get 15 opportunities a game?
No, not in that offense. I think they would much prefer that to happen.
And then Jeremy says people forget Chuba wasn't their plan A. And this happened before. Miles Sanders got a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Chuba Hubbard was an afterthought. He takes over that backfield, and then they go and we're reliving history. So maybe I am a little bit lower on Rico than I need to be, not from the shares that I have, but if somebody's looking to unload him, maybe I should be looking at that. Just looking at some of the comments here. from Cody. Even if he doesn't take over in Carolina, he should still get years of opportunity to do what he just did in spurts wherever he lands. And we see that for stopgap plug and play options. Like whenever we have a running back go down, there are situations where running backs will go for a second or a pair of thirds. So if you can invest in somebody with that high of a ceiling, why not?
Yeah.
Dan, I know you're thinking about your PSA graded cards over there that we were talking about off the air. What are your thoughts on Rico?
Hey man, I'm rooting for Chuba. We mentioned the PSA 9 autograph I got there, for our boy. But isn't this like in the beginning of the year, before the year started, there were a few backfields where I think we would trade a second for the Trey Benson and the Connor Benson combo, a Jordan Mason maybe with Aaron Jones, Braylon Allen with Breece Hall. To me, this is like the best of the best 2 running back kind of situations. Rico was a 1,000-yard rusher just a year ago. He's got some catching chops. I think, you're right. This team is going to go through the run, and I think Jalen Coker comes back, so maybe that takes a little bit of pressure off the passing game where they could even do a little more there. This is the week to get Rico, though, too. If there's one more week, maybe without Chuba, and they also have the New York Jets coming up on the schedule, so maybe JB, you got to advertise a little bit of what's coming up here. But I think Rico is a good buy for a contending second-round pick.
Let's see here. Let's get some trades for Mr. Rico. Wow, I am zoomed in there.
Where's the Bill Nye music? I saw Bill.
So first one up.
Yep.
Rico for a 26 second.
Rico.
There's the deal.
Luther Burden or Shedeur Sanders and Rico Dowdle.
Package.
Luther's becoming a hot name this week, but kind of like Rico and Shedeur.
Rico or Bond in a 26 third.
Rico.
Love Rico there.
Rico or the second again. Oh, what is this?
That's a free league.
You
Wow.
always find these trades where it's like, wait a minute. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast feed, it was Michael Pittman and Rico Dowdle for Puka Nacua. Rico,
they've got to be like free leagues, right? $10 buy-in.
But why would she? Even if it was a free league, what's the point?
Yeah.
I don't know. Rico Dowdle, Alvin Kamara, and AJ Barner, or Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I'll go Javonte. It's close though.
I don't know. Bayshall 2 in a 26 fourth or Rico?
Rico.
Same.
Okay. So a lot of price points where we're looking at that second. We got one that squeaked through for a third, second and a third. So let me ask you, and this goes to the bigger picture here, because we had this conversation in the Discord yesterday, or maybe it was Sunday, but it was kind of centered around Aaron Rodgers. But any of these assets that have these presumably short shelf lives, you're not contending. You shop Rico. I just said I couldn't get the second. I couldn't get a 2-3 swap. Do I look to shed those points by the max points for and take a little bit below market? Or do I, as I was described, do I stay petty and I just have Rico or Rodgers die on my roster, and good luck to them fixing their need at the position?
Man, shed those points. I think it was just a year ago, Mitch and I were in one league where we were both rebuilding our rosters, and I was mad because he shed me by, if that's such a term, by like, I don't know how many points. And I was just a little late in the season shedding the points. Like, I wasn't aggressive as I could have been. And I think it was the difference in like Mitch getting the first pick and me the second or something like that. And when it comes draft time, there is nothing more frustrating when you want that guy. Now, maybe Mitch is willing to trade that first, but I've got to now give more to be able to get it, where if I just shed those points, I mean, man, Rico should be gone. A 40-year-old quarterback should be gone.
No, it's tea.
Is that chamomile tea, John?
I don't. It's green tea that Mara had upstairs. I don't know.
Drinking green tea at 9:30 at night.
Yeah,
Good for you.
helping the vocals here, but no. But I do like the idea of the doing some type of contest between the three of us, and the loser has to drink a chalice
good.
of urine.
I'm good. The only thing I'll counter with on the
pass.
Rico thing compared to like Aaron Rodgers, Rico's on a 1-year deal and he is proving it right now. And so he is a guy to where you could see another team bringing him in. And, maybe he's going to he probably is going to have to deal with them also bringing in a draft pick or whatever, because that's what happens to Rico Dowdle type players. But there is some, even if you are tanking, there is value next year more than likely with Rico Dowdle from what we've seen so far.
Matt's comment here: if you have to buy Rico Dowdle, then you aren't a real contender. With all of the injuries, all of the bye weeks coming up, Matt, for the most part, oftentimes I would agree with an overall statement like this, but these are desperate times right now. And I got teams that are either 6-0, 5-1, 4-2, and I'm looking at setting my roster over the next week or two.
Yeah,
I might have to acquire a Rico.
Yep.
The leader in Scott Fishbold, our Dynasty daddy, our friend of the show, his running backs are Omarion Hampton and Bucky Irvin right now. He could use a little Rico Dowdle in his life temporarily.
I'm just looking at some of the comments. Let's see. You know me. I just like to catch up on the comments. So, okay. So let me see. I'm looking at my tiers here when we look at Rico.
Deeper leagues too is a good point.
All right,
of needing a Rico 14-team league.
So maybe I was just being a stingy son of a bitch whenever these offers came through, because I have them in there with that random 26 second. So I'm drinking the tea, but I'm not drinking my own Kool-Aid apparently.
Yep.
I think similarly, like I have a contending roster that I didn't necessarily need a running back. What the heck is John doing? Now he's disappearing.
I think John just canceled out of StreamYard. That is great.
Bauer Club has entered the studio. John, we'll let you back in the show here. What's in that green tea?
What's in this tea, man? Oh my gosh. I hit the X.
John, before you X'd out and just interrupted the flow of the show there, I was saying, like, needing a Rico for a second. I have a contending roster that I don't necessarily need a running back, but I traded for Travis Etienne and I traded my late first. I think I got a little something extra in there, but the way Etienne's going in that Jacksonville, I don't want to leave anything for a chance. Someone's going to get injured on me later or bye weeks. I want my roster loaded. So I think if you could get a good asset at whatever that value is, hey, let's win some money here in Dynasty.
Agreed.
Rico Dowdle or Keon Coleman?
Rico Dowdle. I don't know, dude. I said it in the chat yesterday. I was so high on Keon Coleman after week 1. I was like, all these shares are paying off. I don't think he's been startable since.
Rico Dowdle or Spencer Rattler in a third.
Rico Dowdle.
Okay.
No belief in Spencer. That's the problem.
Rico Dowdle or Justin Fields?
Rico.
It would depend on my quarterback situation. I think Fields is still, whether we like him or not, or he stinks or not, he's still going to have some good weeks this year. You may need him in a super flex format.
So at this point, you have an offer on the table straight up. Rico or Chuba Hubbard?
Rico.
Oof, that's brutal. I'm going to stay stubborn and still believe in Chuba.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because we know that they want to run the ball especially when they find that success early in the game. And again, it's not just this season. It's been previous years as well. That is their goal, especially like they don't want Bryce Young out there slinging it 50 times. They don't. And can you blame them? Cody says both are worth a second though. All right, let me ask you. It's like the Boardwalk and Park Place situation where now you can build hotels so they're a little bit more valuable. Do you pay a first for the pair?
No.
No, I'd rather the ceiling upside.
No,
Isn't this
I
maybe
don't.
an example of like prime or when they were kind of at their best, like Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco or something, where like two good running backs, the offense is humming, and some weeks you pick the wrong guy, or you're not getting a lot of points, but you're still getting production there. The question is, could Carolina still give enough production over the course of the year? Some of these games are going to get tougher for them, and I think one of those guys, they might both be splitting carries, and unless they hit the end zone, you're going to have some 6, 7, 8 point weeks there that aren't going to really help you too much.
Big Jankowski, Chuba is a trade candidate. Maybe we see Chuba in Washington. I think Washington does something before the trade deadline. I know the JCM, I know the Bill Hive is going to come after me, but I think they add to that running back room. They need another weapon there, especially with Terry McLaurin too busy being injured and probably just golfing the whole time.
I think their offseason was like one of the worst off seasons an NFL team had, to be honest. It was just nothing. Unless you count Debo as, a huge get.
He's been good for the most part.
He's fine. Yeah.
It was a team that could have done more for where they were positioned. I think to Mitch's point, put some more talent around Jaden Daniels in that offense.
Yeah. Okay. So Chuba, Rico, it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a situation where Rico very well could be gone next year unless he's extended. I saw some Jonathan Brooks comments. We can let go. You can be like Kate Winslet floating on that door. You can let go of Jack. Okay.
I can see both of these guys coming back next year too. It's a brutal position where there's going to be injuries, and a lot of teams need two running backs. We've seen that. I can see them both staying.
All right, to wrap up the show, I wanted to look at 3 wide receivers that are very similarly valued in that low end wide receiver 2, very high end wide receiver 3 dynasty values. And they're giving you production, and it's in that low end wide receiver 1 to mid wide receiver 3 where there really isn't that much of a difference on a per game basis. Mitch, you're furrowing your brow.
I had an issue with you saying this. I did, because in the notes you said they're not giving you difference making production. But like, if you look at Waddle over the last 2 weeks, he's giving like 18 to 19 points. I think that is definitely difference making ever since Tyreek Hill's been out.
Okay.
That's just how I feel on it.
And Metcalf's been fine in the end zone,
Yeah.
I said they have been very good options and they've been producing, but are they well, so we have DK Metcalf, wide receiver 23 on the Dynasty Daddy rankings. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 25. Chris Olave, wide receiver 26. I was going to say, let's do a kind of a keep trade cut situation, but just you have the opportunity to go out and acquire one of those 3 at the same cost. The environment is perfect. All 3 are available. The asking price is all the same. Mitch, is Waddle your pick then, based on what you just said?
Yeah, Waddle's my pick. Pretty easy, to be honest, especially in Dynasty.
Dan?
Oh, man. That's what I think to next year. Like, to get one of these guys, I would have to have a receiver needy roster. I need another flex option, whatever the reason is. I'd probably have to give up a first to get them. I don't really want to trade my first for a Jalen Waddle. I'm not sure I want to trade my first for Chris Olave. DK is a little enticing, but man, the common denominator with all 3 of these guys is their quarterback situation could be in limbo 1 season from now. Like, if it gets better, awesome, but there's no necessarily proof that it's going to. So I don't know, JB. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind them on a roster in any of these guys, but I'm not really excited to go after him. I'd rather get creative and try to go after a little bit better receiver and give up a little bit more.
See, for me, and I like, if we're looking strictly from a 2025 perspective, I do agree with the Jalen Waddle comment. You know, over the last 3 weeks, he's getting 27% target share, and the best when you mix in volume with quality of targets, I think Jalen Waddle was the winner here. Chris Olave, he's picking up a 32% target share, but the quality of targets there.
Yep.
But not only that, only 9% of his targets are over 20 air yards. That's the lowest out of all three. DK Metcalf almost doubling that up at 16%. But you look at the way that New Orleans offense is run, like Rashid Shaheed, he's under 10 yards average depth of target, which was very surprising to me. So my thought with Chris Olave is, because his production is a little bit lower, probably a little bit more attainable, even though I said if their cost was all the same. So of course I'm moving the goalpost here with my own question, but I think he might be the easiest attainable, and probably maybe wish casting a little too much, but an upgrade at the quarterback position there next year.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, he's the second most targeted wide receiver in the league. Like, if you look at the 50 minimum routes run, he's the 5th highest as far as like targets per route run. I mean, so he is hitting everything you want as a wide receiver, except for the passes he's getting are terrible. So he's not catching enough of them. You compare it, he's getting, like, I think I looked it up, it was like a 58% catch rate or something like that. And Amon St. Brown is at like 87. But I mean, it's so funny how you could have one wide receiver who's actually getting less targets, but is producing so much more just because the targets are actually better. And so, no, I think Chris Olave is a great buy right now. Like, if there's one thing to leave this with, is buying into Chris Olave isn't a bad idea, because I think that's just going to get, the situation's going to get better later this year and into next year.
And I see the comment from Cody, and I other comments as well about Jalen Waddle maybe not being able to trust him to stay healthy. I think that's baked into his value, though.
It is, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
that was the two things that worried me, JB, when I looked at Waddle and Olave. I'm just waiting for them to get injured again. Olave, I think, is the most talented, and he's on a 1-5 team that maybe if there is a team that has a chance to get in a quarterback next year, it would be him via the draft.
And there's the comment, and that we've talked about this countless times, and this is from Nick. Waddle will just live in that range of receivers that might be worth a late first, but nobody really wants to pay it. Like, I have I said 15 receivers in that range where if I'm moving them, I would ideally want that first. I'm okay getting to that value and maybe even a little bit more than that, but I would want to use different pieces to get there. But then it comes back to people maybe not wanting to do that. So you kind of get these players that are in that limbo. And I see Frank's comment, give me Adams for cheaper. And I yelled at him. I said, Adams is not part of this. It's one of these three guys. All right.
Let me ask Dan one real quick, though. Zay Flowers or Jalen Waddle, contender, you're in it to win it this year?
I'll take Zay, because I liked him more going into the year, and I'm going to assume Lamar is going to come back and make a run, and it's a bet on Lamar Jackson versus a bet on Tua and that coaching staff getting fired.
Yeah, I didn't know if you'd switch on that one or not.
Yeah. It's fair, though, Mitch. It's close.
This is that range that, depending on the way you construct your roster, some people just avoid this range entirely. Sure, I'll take these players if I can get them at a slight discount and not having to pay that first. Or can I get somebody in that upper echelon and I'm willing to pay to get there? And I feel like it's almost like tight end. People are more than okay living in that mid to lower range. Running back, people are okay churning and burning those lower options. Wide receiver and quarterback, it's like get up, get down, or get out.
Mm-hmm. No, completely agree.
Hill Bullies, what happens when Olave goes to the Steelers? Steelers keep saying they want to add a wide receiver, and does it happen? Khan has been far more aggressive than previous tenures. So I think that is possible. And you're looking at that like over the last 3 weeks, Steelers are 2-0. Rest of the division's 0-9.
That's what happens.
I think DJ Moore could be on the move, certainly. There's going to be some movement here. I do want to see a running back go to Washington, though. And Brees, he tweeted out free 20 or something like that. He's calling for it. All right. So when I would say my favorite value and probably trade target would be Chris Olave. But again, I can certainly understand. And we all just completely glazed over DK Metcalf, who's wide receiver 12 on a per game basis, 2.6 yards per route run, the highest of the three, plus 1.5 catch rate over expected. 16% of his targets are downfield from the legend Aaron Rodgers, and he's getting a 23% target share.
For me, it always comes down to AFC North wide receivers in December. Like the weather just turns so bad there that if I could pick any other wide receiver that's close, I'm going to go in that direction.
I feel like Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf are built for cold weather, though. And I got to say, watching your Steelers, JB, is even though Rodgers is older than dust, man, that old grizzled vet, man, he's having fun out there, and you could just see it. And DK Metcalf's having fun. You know, here's a guy that was frustrated with Geno Smith a year ago, and I think we're seeing why right now. So it's cool with what DK Metcalf is doing and finding the end zone. But again, I do. What's that going to look like a year from now? But hopefully the Steelers can figure that out.
Do you think Jacoby could get moved? Last year was deal. Yeah. Last year was deal.
I think the problem comes down to the coaches are old. Like they're not in it to win next year. So unless they're like completely out of it, I just don't see them being like, we messed up.
Yeah. I think the Raiders are a team that's going to compete the best they can this year, and they got to find a no line. I think that coaching staff's got to say, hey, next year, man, we're going to get this O-line, and we've got Genty. We'll get Bowers back healthy, and we'll see where Myers lands.
Genty does look good, too. Like, I watched a lot of that game. He looks fine. He's going to be really good still.
Yeah, he's got to be a little patient this year.
I saw the split today. The first 3 weeks, he had a more traditional stance in the backfield. Last 3 weeks went to more of the Michael Myers pose.
The awesome one. Yep.
And he's more productive.
Comfortable.
It's spooky season here. Come on.
Gibbs has the same one. Exact same one.
I'm just going through my tiers and I'm looking like Jawan Jennings. He's just, oh my God, so frustrating.
Speaking of the first 2 weeks of the season. That was great.
Yeah, he's hurt. I was just looking for potential trade candidates. I said in the chat, I want to see some comments. Genty is the victim of negative yards before contact. He's Chase Brown if he were really good, like because Chase Brown is getting hit immediately. We talked about that before too. So anything else on these three receivers, or anything else on the Dowdle Chuba conversation, or if you're looking to invest in Cam Ward because he's gonna be good in 5 years?
I think it's you help the listeners tonight, at least with these three guys, to the comments that were made here. They may not be the guys you want. They're in that sticking point, but there is some good production there to be had that could help your contending roster finishing the money.
Yeah, it's not really on topic, but there was a discussion in the Discord today about like a few different, like, hey, is it time to throw in the towel on this team? There's a lot of teams. The answer is just yes now. I mean, we're going to be 7 weeks in the season. It's time to, pull the plug on some of those teams that only have 2 wins, and you kind of build them around the older veterans who just aren't performing. It's time to move those veterans.
You know what we should do next week?
No, we're going to do my show next week, John. You already changed it. So we're going to do my show next week.
Okay. Then in 2 weeks, I want to do a topic where you volunteer a team, one of the three of us, and we put it on the screen, and is it time to pull the plug?
Done. Like it. We could do that.
I have plenty of teams. It could take up probably a couple days. It's going to be a long stream. As always, the chat was absolutely fantastic. I saw a few new names in there, at least new names, watching Dynasty Theory. So we appreciate that. come over, check out patreon.com/allgas. We have the incredible Discord community conversations going 24/7. You have my cross positional tiers, they're part of it. Bonus content in there, a lot of good perks. And then check out ddfantasyfootball.com. A lot of things going on over there as well. For Mitch Sorensen, Dan Lamagna, I'm John Bauer. Catch everybody next week with Mitch's topic. Peace.